Hi, Ben here with Steam Brite. This video is a troubleshooting video that we're going to be putting out to help you troubleshoot your machine without the use of any need to go to any service shop. You can simply troubleshoot it on the job site, do the proper repair or adjustment that's needed, so that way you can go back to work. Now, what we have done, which we send a sheet like this with every owner manuals to our customers, which basically it categorizes different type of problem you might run into, which I'm gonna have to turn it around to be able to read it, so that way I can talk to you about it. Okay, the first thing is you might walk into your unit and your unit does not start. That means you turn the key and the unit is dead. Okay, the areas you need to check first is your battery. You want to make sure your battery cables are nicely connected. There is no corrosion, there is no calcium buildup or anything at the terminal of the battery. Also check the battery if it's live and it's not a dead battery. So we check the battery, like I said, and also the cables. Now, there is one more area you need to check. To the right side of the engine, there is a fuse for your safety. In case any kind of a shortage happens around the machine, there is a 20 amp switch will burn and shut down the whole entire system to prevent any kind of disaster. If your fuse keep burning, do not try to start the machine. That means do not try to put a stronger type of fuse, try to get it running, because that pretty much is a signal saying something is wrong. You need to find out what area that you have electric problems, or maybe even any kind of positive cable may be contacting the body. That's why that fuse gets hot and it burns. So then we get to another category. It says unit starts but does not keep running. It's just shutting off on you. First place you check, which is the most common mistake, make sure your water is turned on. Look what happens if I shut off the water to the machine. I'm going to go ahead and start the machine, but I'm going to shut off the water source to it. Remember I told you two lights should be on. The green light, that means good amount of water coming in. Here we go, we're going to start it. As long as there is pressure here, the machine will not shut off. And look what happens. I start removing the pressure out of the unit and I shut off the water to it. Machine shuts off. So now if I try to start it, because my green light is off, I will not be able to fire it up. But as soon as I let go of the water, give it a little choke, start. Ready? Then another area, so if your water connection is good and you get a good amount of water coming in, next thing you want to check is your fuel. Maybe your fuel tank is low, or maybe it's out of fuel or gas. That's why you can't get gas or fuel to the machine to keep it running. Now, the third area you're going to check is your recovery tank. In your recovery tank, there is a float switch. In a center compartment, like I showed you earlier, as the water level rises, it will move this switch upward and it will shut down the engine. Maybe your tank is full. Okay. Now, one of the last areas you will check, there is a sensor here, very accessible. This sensor maybe have a small trash in there. All you have to do is disconnect these two wires, remove the sensor, look in the back of it. You might have a tiny little trash has flown into the entrance of that pressure switch and gets it to do faulty reports. Now, we're going back down on the list. The problems are, let's say, is pressure. There is no pressure at the unit. Where we're going to check? We're going to check our pressure regulator. Maybe it came apart, or maybe it's bad, or for whatever reason it's bypassing and it's not allowing the unit to have pressure. Next thing you want to check is check for the heat discharge valve might be left open or stuck open. Remember earlier I explained to you this unit is equipped with a solenoid which is normally closed, and it only opens up when the machine reaches its peak of 220 or 250 or whatever the area where you set the temperature. As this unit operates, you will experience loss of pressure at your one, so if it gets stuck open, you will not have pressure. That's when you come in order to just quickly troubleshoot it so you can finish your job. Just go ahead and manually block it. Now, there is another area in front of the machine. As you open it, which is your bypass, its job is to kill the pressure and the heat. Maybe you have left your front bypass fully open. That's why you will not have pressure. Look what happens to the pressure gauge when I do that. As I close it, I'm going to go ahead and crank the engine. My pressure is at 500. But as I'm opening the valve below, take a look. And look at the gauge. What happens to the gauge? It drops down to 0. As I close it, pressure builds up. That might be a problem too. Or at the end, which is very seldom, your pump might be bad. That means the head of the pump, either your check valves are burned, or they may have a tiny little trash buildup beneath them. All you have to do, you remove these caps, and you should be able to remove the check valve and inspect them for any kind of trash buildups and what have you. Now we're still in the pressure department. Let's say the unit has pressure. So if you're